From the Chicago Sun-Times newsroom, I'm Natasha Korecki, and this is Off Message, our weekly political talk show. Joining me this week, Sun-Times columnist Mary Mitchell, Sun-Times columnist Neil Steinberg, and our very special guest, Marianne Ahern, political reporter from NBC5. This week, we've had some considerable developments in the mayoral race.
The Sun-Times basically forced my hand without, if they hadn't published those poll results, I don't think the questions would have been of the same volume, intensity, frequency, whatever.
So now we have the prospect of a Karen Lewis run. How serious do you think Karen Lewis is about making a bid for mayor?
I think she's very serious. I don't think anyone else has stepped up. You know, what the poll says that Karen Lewis has a good shot. She would give Rahm a run for his money. It's like a clear field for her. So I think she's very, very serious about running. I don't think there's any question about that.
But does she have any, can she do it? Is she viable?
She's smart, she's courageous. She wouldn't have had the success with the teacher strike that she did if she weren't. But, you know, she's $7 million behind Rahm and trailing. And there's that practical having a machine that, it's not a matter of just personality to win.
But is money everything?
Ask Eric Cantor. He found out the hard way. And Alderman Bob Fioretti supposedly is thinking of it too. I think those forces are going to try to come together and come up with one viable candidate rather than have several. We saw what happened last time with that, with Chico and Devallier. Then it's the idea of, okay, who are they going to be able to rally? Is it going to be the anybody but Rahm column folks? Of course, the union support may go their way, but who else is going to be the kind of folks that are going to get them through?
Well, isn't there enough discontent in African American communities, for instance, to sort of create this anti-Rahm movement?
I keep hearing that, this discontent in the African American community. Okay, there's discontent over the crime issue and the violence issue, but no matter who sits in that office, there's going to be discontent.
Well, and the closing of the schools.
Correct. Well, there's a segment of the population, the African American community, who are really involved in schools and they care about that subject. But overall, it is the crime issue and the violence issue that's driving the discontent. So if you hear a candidate like Lewis come out and really say something that's going to resonate with African American voters, that she has some kind of answer or solution, then that's going to galvanize them and help them come together. But if it's just because anti-Rahm, I think that, going in his first election, there was an anti-Rahm feeling in the African American community, according to us. That's what we reported. And guess what? He picked up huge numbers in the African American community.
Well, very different dynamics then than there are now, however, and Obama doesn't bring the same kind of star power as he did then.
I think he's still, in Chicago he does. In Chicago, and maybe not other places, but yeah, back here he does.
Dial back to Bob Fioretti, too. I don't think they're comparable candidates. I think Karen Lewis is a much stronger candidate. Bob Fioretti is a very competent alderman. He's very well liked, but I don't think he has the citywide star power that Karen Lewis would have.
I agree with you there, but I do think there are some folks who see Karen Lewis as the crazy gal yelling all the time at Rahm, and how is she serious? How will she handle union contracts? What will she do with the business community? She's got to reinvent herself big time.
She's learned a lot, but there's also a lot of tape of her saying a lot of things that could haunt her in her race, including I know nothing about politics or something like that, which, doesn't look that good when Rahm starts playing it on TV every day.
How serious do you think Karen Lewis is about this? Do you think she's really tackling this thing?
I do. From all accounts, you talk to her folks, you talk to her, she's very serious. If she says she's interested, she's going to dive in. She's an intelligent gal. She would be able to be a formidable candidate.
Right, and just look at her. She's she's losing weight.
That to me is a giveaway.
That says it all. She is really beginning to try to do something with her image. She's trying to refine it. She's trying to appear to be softer. I think she's really, really serious about
Talk about softer. So is the mayor. Interesting this week that he, at a news conference, I thought, wow, he's been to some anger management class. Every person tried to, ask a question and interrupt. He did just a minute, I'll be right back to you.
You and Karen Lewis have been adversaries.
Wow. That is a different Rahm.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Fran Spielman called him unlikable. Given how Fran has her thumb on the pulse of things, I was surprised, but I'm not saying he's not unlikable. I'm just saying is to see it as reported as news, the unlikable Rahm Emanuel. I'm it seemed like a little river had been crossed.
His numbers are pretty low right now.
Yeah, no,
I know you say they can change, but it's been like that for
I'm not surprised by that. As long as people are getting killed, and as long as we got stories nationally about 80 people getting shot on over a weekend, his numbers are going to be low, because that doesn't just affect people on the south and the west side. It affects the business community. It affects investment in the city. It is a big deal. So I think as long as that issue is going on, we can expect to see low numbers.
Yeah, and that is a good point. We are in the thick of summer, and these numbers are spiking now. Okay, with that, why don't we go to our quotes of the week? We'll start with you, Mary.
Okay, well, I came across one that I thought really represents how pessimistic we can be. It's from State Senator Kwame Raoul, and his quote was in response to, finding a real challenger to Emmanuel. He says, "You can have bright stars and up-and-comers, but without resources, they will always be just bright stars and up-and-comers." And I thought how quickly we forget the campaign of Harold Washington.
3 words: Polk Brothers Foundation. As Mike Sneed revealed, they're spending $20 million for naming rights at Navy Pier, which sounds great, but a lot of the educational groups and schools that are depending on that kind of money are saying, why are you spending this to promote your foundation? We need that money for education. I think you're going to see some blowback in the weeks ahead from that.
Toni Preckwinkle, when she made her announcement that she was not going to run, someone said, "How do you think the mayor's doing? Does he deserve to be reelected?" And she said very quickly, "If you want to know how he's doing, ask him." I thought that kind of said it all.
You're right. And Rahm Emanuel's campaign response to the early and often poll that showed that Karen Lewis had a 9-point lead over him. They said, quote, "entirely laughable." And then Stephanie Gadlin, Karen Lewis's spokesperson, came back the next day and said they can laugh themselves all the way out of office. With that, thank you very much for joining us this week. Thank you to our panel, and we will see you next week on Off Message.